You will eat the bugs.
Eating insects could help fight world hunger.
From caterpillars and cockroaches to mealworm-covered apples.
You will live in the pot.
Putting 10 what we call pedestrians into the space. There's no privacy. As you see, there's no curtain, there's no wall.
You will wear the mask.
When I do not have to wear the mask on. No, you have big fucking punk.
You will get the vaccine. You will welcome the refugee. You will celebrate Pride Year.
We'll convert your children.
You will watch the Hollywood movies. You will celebrate diversity. You will watch the pornography.
You want some big fucking cock?
Yes.
It changed. And
So this is where you live. What do you like about it?
You will consume the product. Don't ask questions. Get excited for next product. You will not spread anti-Semitism.
This was posted by a professor at Rutgers University on his Facebook page. There is absolutely no price to pay to openly expresses such vile hate.
You will fight white people.
Look at the belly of the beast and we will gouge it!
You will put your kid on puberty blockers.
Well, you're a boy, right?
No, I'm a girl.
My son started telling me that he had a girl's brain in a boy's body. All of his authority figures telling me he's a girl.
You will send your daughter to Eurovision. You will have no privacy. You will own nothing.
Now is the historical moment, the time to shape the system.
And you will be happy.
Ready to fight. Kira Rudik joins me now. Kira, thank you so much for taking the time out. What is the latest on the ground where you are?
Hello. So this night was tough for Kiev. I'm staying here along with my crew. We are members of the resistance and we are armed. So when you are saying, she says that she's armed and ready to fight, I'm not only saying this, we are proving this actually by our actions. So every evening receiving information that Kiev is about to fall, that Russia is throwing all its forces on us. And then in the morning, we are proving everybody wrong. We are showing that, first of all, we are able to resist. And second, that no matter what happens, we will rather, we will not do anything that is, that will allow Russia to move forward. So Ukraine right now resisting very hard. Putin is not getting any wins of what he wanted. And for now, it's 4,300 Russian soldiers are being killed on Ukrainian soil. So I think it's like a pretty bad result for a dictator, right?
I think if those numbers are accurate, this is obviously not what Putin expected so far. For the rest of us that aren't Ukrainians, I think the world, quite frankly, Kira, is surprised by the will of the Ukrainian people to stand up and fight. Are you?
Well, I'm not surprised. We have been fighting Putin for the last 8 years, and we had 3 revolutions in our country when we did not agree with what was going on with the direction of where we're moving in. But right now, it's a critical time because we know that we not only fight for Ukraine, we fight for this new world order for the democratic country.
What? What the fuck?
We fight for this new world order for the democratic country.
Out of these troubled times, our 5th objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. And today that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known. A world where the rule of law supplants the rule of the jungle. A world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice. A world where the strong respect the rights of the weak.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. Such is a world worthy of our struggle and worthy of our children's future. Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. In the words of Winston Churchill, a world order in which the principles of justice and fair play protect the weak against the strong. A world where the United Nations, freed from Cold War stalemate, is poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders. And that's why I wanted to speak to you today about the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach. In the coming weeks, I'll be talking in some detail about the possibility of a new world order emerging after the Cold War. But today, I want to discuss another aspect of that order. You see, as the Cold War drew to an end, we saw the possibilities of a new order in which nations work together. It refers to new ways of working with other nations to deter aggression and to achieve stability. As old threats recede, new threats emerge. The quest for the new world order is in part a challenge to keep the dangers of disorder at bay. We must build on the successes of Desert Storm to give new shape and momentum to this new world order. Only when this transformation is complete will we be able to take full measure of the opportunities presented by this new and evolving world order. The new world order really is a tool for addressing a new world of possibilities. This order gains its mission and shape not just from shared interests, but from shared ideals.
The President George Bush has talked time and time again about a new world order, and this is the best chance to begin to establish the new world order. And that's why the stakes are so high.
From 1945 and the end of the war through 1989 and the end of the Cold War, we had a worldview. Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it was a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder. And we still, and after 9/11, we've been more sensitive.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
Now, much has been said by the Secretary of State and others about a new world order, about a defining moment in history. I have no doubt about the potential of this moment to be defining in terms of history, but that definition can be negative as well as positive. And how negative or positive it will be will depend on what kind of new world order we really create. Can it truly be said that the United States of America, trading off better treatment to China for an abstention on a vote, cozying up to Syria with its record of support for terrorism, or making promises to other countries in exchange for a hold your coat, you go ahead and take the risks and casualties endorsement, can it truly be said that these create a new world order? Can it really be said that we're building a new world order when it's almost exclusively the United States who will be fighting in the desert? Not alone, but almost. Displaying pride and impatience and implementing what essentially amounts to a Pax Americana. Is that a new world order? Can it really be said that this is a true new world order when it lacks a true United Nations collective security effort with the full measure of international cooperation and burden sharing which that should carry?
With the end of the Cold War, Henry Kissinger pointed out in his superb book on diplomacy, he said, "None of the most important countries which must build a new world order have had any experience with the multi-state system that is emerging. Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on so global a scale. Nor has any previous order had to combine the attributes of the historic balance of power system with global democratic opinion and the exploding technology of the contemporary period." That was written in 1994, and it may be even more relevant today.
As I've told you before, because I love it so much, they also created the Great Seal of the United States. And that Great Seal of the United States has on it, Novus Order Seclorum, a new order for the centuries, for the ages, forever.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order, new world order.
Hi, this is Daniela Cambone, and welcome back to Stansberry Research. Earlier this week, President Joe Biden signed an executive order asking the government to examine the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies. Here to help us connect the dots of everything happening is Willem Middelkoop. He's the author of The Big Reset, and we always have a great conversation. Willem, good to see you again.
Yeah, I think that was buried almost in this executive order. Of course, everybody was looking for what will be the news on Bitcoin, on crypto, and then we found this this message that the digital dollar, the US will start a digital dollar project. And of course we knew this was a research project, and the US always played it down that it was just a research. But I think this was the first confirmation, especially from the president, that they will start to roll out the digital dollar in the next few years. But I think they need to do some testing first, but it will have huge repercussions.
So this is a key moment, Willem, and you know, if you do a little digging, I found a speech from the Fed back in February, end of February, just a few weeks ago, where Governor Brainard said, you know, the Federal Reserve needs to be preparing for the payment landscape of the future, even as we continue to make improvements to meet today's needs. In light of the rapid digitalization of the financial system, the Fed has been thinking critically about whether there is a role for a potential U.S. central bank digital currency. So all roads seem to be pointing to the coming digital currency. The question is, how are they going to get people's buy-in for this?
Oh, well, that's quite easy. If you advise people as a government to go to the App Store and download the Fed wallet, and you tell people there will be $10 on the Fed wallet once you downloaded it, everybody will jump on it. And actually in the Ukraine we have seen something like this There was the start last month of an e-wallet in which the government advised people you can download this e-wallet and you can get subsidies, but only if you're vaccinated. So you see this merger of e-money, electronic money, digital money, but only if you well behave. So this reminds me on the China system where the credit score is is used in a way to take away part of your freedom if you don't behave well. And this is what can happen now in the West as well.
Does modern monetary theory have to go digital?
Well, it helps. It helps because you will have money which is highly programmable, so you can say to people you have to spend this money before the end of the year because otherwise it will it won't be there on your wallet anymore. You can tell people where they should spend it on, so you can't spend it on holidays, but you can spend it on energy and food. And I think this is something which authorities, they love it because they will get more control over their people and they can follow each and every payment, and you will leave traces everywhere.
So in tandem, with going digital is the push to get to zero net emissions by 2050. Can you talk a little bit?
Yes, sorry. It will all be connected because they will know exactly, once we have this fully digital payment system and we all have this e-wallet, they know exactly what you buy, they know exactly where you go, and they will calculate your CO2 footprint. And when you buy too many airline tickets, you will be punished in a way. And so it will all be connected. So they will tell you this is all needed to fight climate change. There will be the spin, but it's all about control, and it's all about maintaining the current dollar-centered world reserve system. And of course, there's a lot at stake here.
Interesting, and to that point, I dug up a tweet from a UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who says, who early in the year named his, the top 5 things we should be fighting for around the world right now. Number 1, fighting COVID. His number 2, ahead of tackling climate change, was transforming the global financial system. Number 2, transforming the global financial system, then tackling the climate crisis, putting people at the center of the digital world, and delivering sustainable peace. But let's hone in on that transforming the global financial system. What does that involve, Willem? What does that mean?
I published The Big Reset in 2014, and came to the conclusion, actually was printed on the back cover around 2020, we need to change the international monetary system. We need to move it to the next phase. I call this a monetary reset. And we've seen many signs pointing towards this monetary reset. And the example you just mentioned is very interesting, because if you look into his speech, he actually said COVID-19 also exposed deficiencies in the global financial system. To tackle these weaknesses and integrate the global financial system with other global priorities, think climate change, the UN proposes holding summits every 2 years, summits of the 20 leading economies. So this actually tells you he wants to organize a new Bretton Woods conference with the leading 20 countries around the world. And this reminds me of the IMF, which published this new website, or part of their website, in October 2020, calling for a new Bretton Woods moment, but not telling us what this was all about. And it also reminded me about a speech given by Janet Yellen, or it might have been an interview, and the Treasury Secretary said we should be prepared to build a new global economy from the ground up in a new restructured world. And then we had this speech by Mark Carney in Jackson Hole in, what was it, July, August 2019, and he called for a global monetary system to replace the dollar, according to the Financial Times. And This speech is still on the website of the Bank of England. He was the governor of the Bank of England. He's retired now. And he also said, Mark Carney, there will be a change in this unsustainable monetary system. And I follow many of his speeches because he's on the forefront of this movement. And he had another speech in 2020 in which he said the world needs a new sustainable financial system to stop runaway climate change. So we have so many signs now pointing towards a monetary reset. And I think the current crisis, we spoke about crisis in our last chat. We mentioned 15 crises. Well, we have a refugee crisis now in Ukraine, in Europe. We have a commodity crisis. We have a food crisis. We have an energy crisis. And this will increase the pressure on the system, on the financial system, and will put pressure on authorities to come up with a reset, with another system. But then you will enter into a fight between the West and the East, and then it's getting scary.
Let's bring it back a second, because you just said a lot of important things right there. And then I'm going to get to my big question for you. What would the new Bretton Woods look like?
I studied a lot of academic papers, and if you study the speeches of Mark Carney, because he's been a front runner on this, actually he proposed in Jackson Hole that the successor for the dollar should not be one currency, but should be a digital currency, a synthetic world reserve currency. He mentioned it one day. So you might be aware of the SDR, which is the currency basket of the IMF. In the currency basket of the IMF are 5 currencies now: the dollar, the euro, the pound, the yen, and renminbi. The renminbi was added in 2015. So there you have a currency basket which could be used as a new world reserve currency. But imagine that all these 5 main currencies have a digital form. So the central bank digital currencies have been rolled out in a few years in China, Europe, in the US, Japan, and the UK. Then you can build a digital SDR and ask everybody to download the new digital SDR wallet. And we might call it the Bancor.
And you just made me think of another point, because I had Jim Rogers earlier on this week, and he was saying how the US dollar is now being used as the weapon of choice. We see the financial sanctions being used as weapons. Well, won't this force countries like Russia, China, Brazil, whatever, to say, well, we don't want to rely on the US dollar anymore?
Oh yeah, this is the big problem now. And in the epilogue of the Big Reset, I came to the conclusion that a monetary reset could be organized and we could see a smooth transition as long as we have all major trading blocks, so from the East and the West, come together and came to a joint conclusion. But if the East and the West don't want to walk the same road, then you can end up with war. And what do we see now? We have a war actually between the East and the West. Because if you look at the sanctions are being presented here in Europe, and I think also in the US, that the whole world is using sanctions now to punish Russia. But let's look at the countries who are using the sanctions. It's only the West, it's only Europe, the US, Canada, and Australia. That's 1 billion people. And all the countries from the BRIC countries, Brazil, India, China. If you look at the Middle East, they don't join us in these sanctions. And that's 6 billion people. So you have 6 billion people who don't support sanctions, and you have 1 billion who are supporting sanctions.
Well, they would say because they don't hold the power, right? To impose those sanctions.
The Saudis hold a lot of power. And what's very interesting, the Saudis didn't want to answer a call from Joe Biden this week. This was published in press reports. The Saudis said they want to diminish their investments in the US. And the Saudis are still talking with Putin, just like China and India. And remember, we once saw the video footage of the leader of Saudi Arabia giving a high five to Putin during a conference. Yep. So I can envision a scenario in which the petrodollar deal, where oil is being traded in dollars to support the US, the petrodollar deal could fail. And once Saudi, Russia and China agree on a new oil trading system, then things get very interesting very, very rapidly.
Now let's connect the dots here, because we started by talking about the crypto regulation landscape that's being paved here in the US, right? The move towards a digital dollar, digitization, also in the fight, to help fight climate change. Let's connect it to what's happening in Russia, Ukraine now. And my question to you is Ukraine a fast track to the reset?
I think it is. And what's not being discussed that much in Western media is that from the US point of view, the Ukraine is the big prize from a geopolitical point of view. And I don't know if you're aware of the Heartland theory, which was written down in 1904 by Sir John Mackinder. And what he said, that it's so important to control Eastern Europe. Actually, he said, who rules East Europe commands the Heartland. Who rules the Heartland commands the world island being Eurasia, the continent. And who rules world island rules the world, commands the world. So this Eurasian landmass, which runs from actually the Netherlands to Vladivostok, that's 4 or 5 billion people. So if there's peace and happiness on the Eurasian continent, that's a big risk for the US. So we also have the former security advisor Brzezinski, who was the security advisor for Jim Carter. He wrote a book about this, The Round Chessboard. You can download it for free. The PDF is online. And he said the US should always make sure that there's chaos in Central European, the continent. So study the US, study the actions of the US. They invested a lot of money to have this revolution in Kiev in 2014. And well, I'm afraid that the US isn't. Europe has the pain of this crisis again, and in a way, the US enjoys it.
Because how do they win?
Like I explained in the previous answer, when there's no chaos on this Eurasian landmass, and when 4 or 5 billion people trade, when the East and the West trade, and Russia will supply the energy, we don't need the US anymore. So there's a lot, and I'm not making this up. This has been written down by Brzezinski. This has been written down by many geopolitical experts. There's a lot at stake for the US, and the US wins in this in this scenario.
All right, we're back for another live stream, take 2. So hopefully things go smoother. Apologize for the hiccups and issues, but once again, not my typical format. But appreciate those that have been patient with me, just because I think this is very important information that's worth bringing to your attention, because ultimately you won't hear it from any mainstream news source. And as of now, I'm the first one to even really touch on this. But as you guys can see from this visual aid over my shoulder, we have Klaus Schwab in the very middle of all this, and everything's happening in Ukraine. Underpinnings of it is about the transition towards that Great Reset agenda, and it has to do with what you see in the hands of those 2 individuals there. One is an app called the DIA application. About to touch on that. And then to the other side of that is the hryvnia, which is a Ukrainian currency that at this current moment is going through its little ups and flows. But I've touched on that throughout the years. But want to be short and concise and give you some articles that paint more of a picture as to what's happening in the long term. And also the biggest thing to take away from this is put yourself in the shoes of a Ukrainian citizen that is experiencing the introduction of a new digitization of their entire governmental structure. So let's dive into that. And also for those that are on the chat, appreciate you for your patience. Let me know where you're watching from via chat, and we will do the best we can to hopefully make things flow smoothly. Yeah, let me know if everything is good on from what you guys can see. Thumbs up if audio is good, video is good. Hopefully the internet remains, but I'm going to be short and concise to get this to you and let you guys do the rest of the homework for yourselves. But let's jump right in. So what I came across was an article. And so this article here is from the government. It's official documentation from the government in Ukraine. And it's quite lengthy, but I'll just thumb through it, save you the headache, because the two primary buzzwords is in the title itself. I'm going to butcher it, of course, but I'll do the best I can. But as the guy says here, this is from December of 19th of 2021. As it says here, it says, today, the project Bitrue, correct me if I'm wrong, and the DIA application has officially launched how to get your 1,000 hryvnia, which is the Ukrainian currency. So two key words here I want to highlight, shine more light on, let you guys do your homework. This word here, Bitrue, whatever, is important because that is a new digital representation of the hryvnia currency that is being used right now. And it has all the programmable features in it of a CBDC with the time expiration date, the places you can use it, and the like. And then the DIA application here is another key word because that is an actual app that was rolled out well before the lockdowns. So this was a part of the plan well before we were introduced to the health situation that's used as a cover up for the world. But those two words are key. So I'm going to dive further into those words and let you guys know where this is heading. So what exactly is the DIA application? So when you type in DIA into Wikipedia, it tells you just basically what it is. And I'll read it briefly and then add more to it. It says DIA, which means action in Ukrainian. It says is a mobile app, a web portal, and a brand of e-governance in Ukraine. E-governance, new terminology. Expect to hear more of that in the West. It says launched in 2020, to be more specific, in February of 2020. The DIA app allows Ukrainian citizens to use digital documents in their smartphones instead of physical ones for identification and sharing purposes. The DIA portal allows access to over 50 governmental services, 50 governmental services. So basically the entire infrastructure of the Ukrainian government has now been digitized and rolled into an app where all citizens will have to interact with that app in order to engage their government. Pay attention to that. Next one here says, eventually the government plans to make all kinds of state-person interactions available through the DIA. Okay, so I'll go back here. It says DIA was first presented September 27, 2019 by the Ministry of Digital Transformation. They created an entire new branch of government, the Ministry of Digital Transformation. I expect to hear more of that here in the West. But okay, so now we have it. We have the DIA application, which is 50 governmental services rolled into one, and a lot more coming. And we have the Biometric, whatever. We'll work with that. But let's keep it moving right along. Let me know in the chat also if you guys can hear me. Make sure everything is running smoothly. But for those tuning in, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure it'll help more people find out of the greater agenda if you take this video and share it, or just take the links down below and share it so people can get a taste as to what's really going on beyond what we're being told. So here's an article that is relatively fresh, about a week old or so. It says the payment of the UAH or the hryvnia, so 6,500 hryvnia for those who lost their jobs due to the war, begin next week, referring to this week. So listen to this. Let's dive into this. We have the Prime Minister of Ukraine says that the payment of 6,500 for those who have lost their jobs due to the war will begin next week. And it talks about, I appeal to the Ukrainians. The war came as a shock to all of us. Many of us has lost jobs, homes, savings, but remain to defend Ukraine. It says today, the state will support you. When you say when the state will support you, think of universal basic allowance, universal basic income, the government stepping in, the primary reason for all the problems, but then they're also stepping in with their version of the solutions. And of course, none of that equals more freedom for you. But we'll keep moving. It says today the state will support you on behalf of the president of Ukraine. The updated, here's that word again, Pidrma, I'm going to butcher it, forgive me, program will start working next week as of this week. So this week is the first version of that the E currency, leave it at that. It says as part of the program, every employee, every private entrepreneur whose job was taken away by the war will be able to receive 6,500 E-Privnia. Okay, let's keep going. So let me just dive in further as to what that actually means. So the E-Privnia, the E-currency, let's leave it at that, equates to roughly today at about $200 or so in their in the equivalent of the hryvnia, which is the old brand of the currency. But this E-currency now, their version of a central bank digital currency, will be interconnected through the commercial banks. And what makes it unique and what we should pay attention to is that it's programmable in similar format and fashion as the CBDCs. And I'm going to explain to you the time restrictions, the locations people can spend it at, and all those other details. But this is what's happening in Ukraine as of this week. And I haven't heard about it nowhere else to this moment. But let's keep moving. I'm trying to get through as much as I can in a shorter time frame just because I don't want to be disconnected. But just more information out there. Here is more details on that E-currency, or the rebranded version of their hryvnia currency here. And here's an article here. It says how to spend the E money on the swim swim starts, whatever. So I think it's translated or whatever. But as you guys can see here, there's a card next to it. So it has a card feature that's included inside the DIA app. And so just to keep moving right along, it gives you 10 steps. And it's quite interesting, but this is what it is. But we can learn a lot from this. It says how to spend the money of the E-currency, 10 steps below. Here's the steps. Listen to this. This is the reason I bring us to your attention is because these steps here, they're all the preliminary rounds of the rollout of CBDCs in accordance to the fourth turning, or the great fourth industrial revolution that the World Economic Forum was trying to pull off. And as I mentioned before, Ukraine is a test bed. Ukraine is a test bed for this rollout to see how effective it is, to work out any kinks, yada, yada, yada. And it's a way of conditioning the people because they're already in a very dire and destitute situation with war and all the other stuff that's happening in that country, whether it's, whether we're hearing a real story or not, but this is what, is being rolled out. So here's 10 steps. How to spend the E-currency. This is the new version of the currency inside of the DIA app. It says step 1, get a special card is e-support in the application of the bank or the official offline branch. So your local commercial bank, you're going to get a card, bam. It says download the DIA application. That's the application with all the 50 government services in it. Third step, make sure you have a green certificate. You guys see that word there. I'll let you guys do the, what I'm saying? The part of the DIA rollout was the fact that people can have instant uploading of their health status inside of that DIA app. So as you guys can see, you can't get this new E-currency unless you have that DIA app downloaded too. And then the third one, you got to have your certificate for your health conditions. So very concerning, because what about the people who decide not to who decide not to participate in step 2 and step 3? They wouldn't be able to receive this rebranded version of currency. So once again, put pressure on more people to participate. It says, go to the service section in the app. It says, find an e-support. You may need to update the app. Okay. It says, choose the e-support card. Step 7 says, expect crediting money from the Ministry of Economy or your bank. So once you go through the process, you enter your information, and then you'll be airdropped some of that e-currency into your app from one of the commercial banks. It says, log into the legendary swim website, whatever. So as you guys can see here, just some quick steps on helping people get plugged in to the new currency structure that's happening in Ukraine through the DIA app, which rolled out initially in February of 2020. And then the new branded currency, which was a couple weeks old, the E-currency, is officially out this week. So people who have to participate in order to get it. All right, keep moving. So here is an article that is excrucially detailed or extremely detailed rather. So here it is. It says Ukraine is the first country to implement World Economic Forum's Great Reset. Great articles, real short, concise. I'll put it down in the link below. I encourage you to read it because it gives you all the nuts and bolts to what the rest of the world can expect, but I'll just summarize it. It says, what do you think of this transition to go to all digital, practical or worrying? Interesting question. Next thing here, I'll just go through some of the highlights here. It says, in a logical and digitizing central everything, the government launched in 2020 an application called DIA that includes, listen to all the different categories included: identity cards, passports, permits, your health records, health records, the V word, registrations, insurance, health reimbursements, social benefits, and more. It says a model that was known until now only in China, with the famous social credit system. Move on down even more. It says Ukrainians can download the DIA app and store a whole bunch of official information as mentioned above, with the aim behind it to be able to easily carry out most of the administrative procedures that range from the payment of their taxes, to the renewal of identity documents, through the payment of their fines or the recovery of their social benefits. It says in all, nearly 50 services can be reached from the application, and 9 official documents that have the same value as their paper counterparts. 50 services, 50, and 9 official documents. So imagine a social security card and all the other things we do on this side of the planet in one app, that you more than likely, you'll only be able to engage those government entities through that app. That's very concerning, to say the least. And then here it goes down, more information, talks about what's happening currently. It looks like Poland might be doing the same thing, but I wanted to take a minute to bring this to your attention, just because I think this is crucial. We can learn a lot from this. To me, this is breaking news that won't be touched on mainstream news, because they can't touch on it, because this is a part of the Great Reset agenda. So everything happening in Ukraine now, of course, on the surface is a cover up, but yet under the surface, what's being developed as far as this digitization of Ukraine is very alarming, because it furthers the agenda, utilizing technology that was put out there to entice people to participate. We all know, also think about this, ever since the Super Bowl, with that Coinbase QR code commercial that caught the world by surprise, I have noticed unlimited amount of commercials now with QR codes in them, saying scan here for more information. I even see stuff on the internet where people say they go to their restaurants or whatever, and it's a QR code saying, scan this for updates and for the mall times. And it's like, just put the damn time on the door. Why you got to put a QR code? So as you can see, we're further being conditioned here in the West. And the goal is, of course, to bring along the older generation, the baby boomer generation, because that's the generation where the most wealth still lies. So they're trying to attract them into the digitization process by getting them to use their smartphones or scan QR codes. So as you can see, the cell phone in of itself has been turned into a weapon against the people. And then what's happening in Ukraine right now is a great example of how, once again, that's just the first country that's officially gone full-blown reset. They resetted their entire government structure with an app called the DIA. So I want to take a quick minute to share this. Don't want to rant much longer. I want to acknowledge that super chat from Wealth Engineering. It says, never waste a good crisis, changing world order in full effect, 100%. And so this is what's happening, people. I wanted to just basically just share it because I think it's important. I encourage you to do your own research, do your own homework. All the articles I just touched on, I just skimmed through them. They can be found beneath this video here. So you're gonna do a deeper dive. And do me a favor, if you're enjoying this type of short format, hit the thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe, and then take this video, please, and share it on your social medias with your family and friends, just so people can see what's happening around the world, other than what they're being told from their mainstream news sources, which read teleprompters. Like I always say, if somebody reading off a teleprompter, you got to question who wrote it and why did they write it and what are they trying to accomplish with what they wrote. Yeah. Anyway, just some thoughts off the top of my head. Once again, I'm gonna try to do more of these. I got a couple more subjects I want to touch on. We'll see. But once again, appreciate your time. Thank you for being a blessing to the community. Definitely connect on all the social media platforms, Telegram, Discord down below. Do that so people can stay plugged in. Be blessed, be safe. See you guys later.
Get a COVID pass or a child's birth certificate, apply for an unemployment grant, register an individual business, or order a car number plate. Those many services and otherwise are now available for Ukrainians to receive in a pair of clicks without leaving home, thanks to DIA portal and its application. More than 11 million citizens are already using the online platform for services, but the Ministry of Digital Transformation is not about to stop. The agency has set a goal to make Ukraine the most comfortable state in the world.
Our vision of the most convenient state in the world is crystallized through certain goals. The first goal is 100% public services digital. We want to digitize all available services by 2024, make them online and introduce the principle if services do not exist online, they cannot exist offline.
7 more options have recently been added to the DIA list. Instead of hours spent in lines and dozens of papers to recalculate one's pension, one needs only about half an hour to do this via smartphone.
Для нарахування або перерахунку пенсії.
In order to calculate or recalculate a pension, one will need to fill out a survey, upload the necessary documents, and apply. The liberalization of this process is particularly important in a pandemic to help seniors to prevent the additional risk of infection while staying in lines. Therefore, we know for sure this will save lives.
In addition to pension-related services, one can also apply for a subsidy on the portal in a few clicks. No other country in the world has yet repeated the success of the Ukrainian DIA.
Ukraine is the first country in the world that launched digital passports and legally equated them to ordinary paper documents. And business registration in Ukraine has one of the fastest procedures in the world. That is why Ukraine is becoming a digital transformation model for many other European countries.
By the end of the year, another 7 new products will appear in the DIA platform. These are the Face ID notifications on the course of the legal process and credit history. It will also be possible to submit an annual declaration for private entrepreneurs, file for a criminal record check, or register one's place of residency. More revolutionary updates of the DIA portal will be presented at the DIA Summit in February 2022. Reported by Nick Starkov, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.
during SMS, and in it is our Ukrainian creation, the state in a smartphone. Here we're not afraid of reforms. We are transforming. The digitization's heart is beating. Here we have breakthroughs, even if it's impossible. Here we are writing the new history. This is a new trajectory. Here the state and me. Here is Dia. Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you in this venue. We welcome everyone who has been joining us through the live feed in the largest event of the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, Dia Summit. This is a specially created format to present the new and updated digital services every half a year. The state in the smartphone has become the new normal in Ukraine, and the entire world is watching and is closely watching our innovations and technologies. We are shortening the queues in administrative establishments and creating new services to facilitate the lives of Ukrainians. This is what Dia is for, and Dia is making the life of everyday Ukrainians simpler and more comfortable. To open Dia Summit, we are proud to invite Mr. Volodymyr Zelensky, the President of Ukraine. Good morning, everybody. There's so many of you. It brings me so much joy to see you here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be afraid to dream. And this is the words that I would like to kick off our third Dia Summit with. Because even both the video that we have just seen and the event that we are holding right now is about just that. Don't be afraid to dream. 3 years ago, we started to talk about the state in a smartphone, and that was but a dream. And 2 years ago, we started to build this dream, and that was a huge challenge. Today, over 14 million Ukrainians live in the digital Ukraine. And that is the new reality. 14 million is a landmark number. Because I think just as many times I have been told that I am crazy or our team is crazy to try and even try to create a digital Ukraine. But honestly, together, I really wanted to create it. I really believe that, and I'm happy that all of you believe this with me. And you'd be surprised that 14 million people actually voted for me in the Ukrainian presidential election in 2019. 3 years ago, I told everyone about my dream of Ukraine, and this was actually documented by the elections committee. A dream has become a promise, and the promise has become a goal. And you know, you wait for things promised for 3 years, but we managed to do it in 2. We dreamed about a state that allows our citizens to obtain quality services. And for me, first and foremost, this is about speed and about convenience. When 10 services in 15 minutes, you submit one application in 15 minutes to obtain 10 services for a newborn baby. And our baby is only 2 years old, and this service is only 2 years old, but 9 out of 10 Ukrainian families take advantage of this service to register their newborn baby. When over 1 million entrepreneurs and citizens obtain and receive 8,000 hryvnias of state assistance, when your smartphone holds all of your necessary documents, when your smartphone allows you to pay taxes and fines and social contributions and tax returns, or even submit petitions or receive subsidies or pensions. 2 years we have been analyzing the life situations of Ukrainian citizens, where Ukrainian citizens would interact with the state. And we would strive to digitize our services into the digital realm. I think one of the more popular services is changing of domicile, of changing the registration, which used to be bureaucratic hell, is becoming a thing of the past. Because everyone who has tried to do that in paper would be very frustrated. But now we are abolishing all of these lines, all of these military registrations, civilian registrations. All of this is now going to be accessible in just several clicks in your smartphone. And the certificate number A4, which you had to carry around with your passport, forget about it. And of course, we realize that mistakes have been made, and thousands of our citizens who have registered sole proprietorships in DIA for 7 minutes, because we said that you will be able to do it in an hour. And maybe we should apologize to some officials who have been laid off because of our digitization. Because, for example, we have been able to digitize construction permits without any participation of public officials. Now you can, completely online, you can receive a construction permit. This and dozens of other services save our citizens time, money, and nerves. And they also shift the philosophy of the relationship between the government and its citizens. Digital transformation transforms public administration, and a good proof of that is our e-support program. In 2 weeks, only 2 weeks, this is the most popular service in the history of Ukraine, which is a 1,000 hryvnia assistance from the state to all vaccinated citizens, which they can spend for sports, theaters, museums, books, trips around Ukraine. 8 million Ukrainians took advantage of this service. And the spheres affected by COVID-19 have received 2.6 billion hryvnias of assistance through this program. And the entire world has understood that Ukrainians are a reading nation, because one in 3 citizens has spent their money from this assistance program on books. And all of these figures are about digitization. This is what people can say. Yes, we have a service. Yes, we have support from the state. Of course, this is not 100% digitized state, but this is not the Paleolithic medieval state, and even not the state that we remember it in 2018. This is the new reality that has become the new normal in only 2 years. On the 6th of February in 2019, we have presented DIA, and to create it, we have not spent a single dime from the state budget of Ukraine. And the DIA 1.0 had the driver's license and passport in your smartphone. And that was revolutionary. And now we have over 20 documents. And in the DIA portal, now we have over 50 state services, permits, licenses available for you in the click of a button. We have become the 4th country of Europe to implement an e-driver's license. And that was a pride for us. But we were the first in the world to launch a digital passport, which would be 100% digital equivalent of a paper passport. And that was fantastic. And we were the first to join the EU with the fully EU-compatible COVID certificate, which has been generated by 10 million Ukrainians. And now this has become convenient, this has become customary, this has become something that our citizens expect from us as a digital state. And that, I believe, is beautiful. Because the more we achieve, the harder it is to amaze the citizens of Ukraine, and the more our ambitions, the more ambitious our plans become. We are now planning to hold a census together with Apple. We are implementing digital customs, and we strive to become an IT and tech hub of Europe. And now it doesn't sound so fantastic anymore, does it? And after launching this initiative, it's going to become quite achievable, in my opinion. And regarding our initiative, we are launching Dia City. You're not happy, are you? Dia City, give me more applause, please. Amazing. Dia City is the digital capital of our electronic state. This is one of the best tax and legal regimes on the planet. On the planet, which understands the language of venture capital. We are transforming Ukraine into a country of startups and product companies. Thanks to Dia City, we expect the share of GDP, tech GDP of our country to grow from 4 to 10%, up to $16.5 billion, making it one of the largest tech hubs in Europe. We want to build the most convenient state of the world in terms of public services, and the world has been moving along as well. And the most important thing any state has is the people. And the talented people are a foundation of each economy. And we want not only talented Ukrainians to stay at home, but also to invite and engage global talents to come and join Ukraine. This is why we want not only Ukrainian companies, but also foreign companies to join Dia City. And as far as I know, there is a cohort of both Ukrainian and foreign companies who already have expressed their intention to join Dia City. Digital state is about equality. And our goal is to provide quality broadband internet access to each corner of our state and country, and to grant every citizen with the possibility to access high-speed internet. Objectively, right now, we have difficulties with that. We are now expanding the e-support program to allow senior citizens to pay for utilities and for medicines, but not every senior citizen has a smartphone. We have launched an e-course, educational course on digital literacy. But we're launching a new program where each vaccinated citizen of Ukraine who's 6 years old or older can receive a smartphone free of charge with a subsidized tariff. This is our dream, and this is becoming a reality. A free and equal internet access to each citizen of Ukraine, and the ability to influence state policy through the smartphone and through the internet. And this is democracy in its purest form, both online and offline. And today we're making the first step in this direction. Please, ladies and gentlemen, your attention to the screen. Hi, everyone. On the presidential election, we have authored a program together with you, and together with you, we have defined one of its key directions, which is democracy, which means the possibility to make important decisions together, including online, using the most modern technology. And today, we are taking our first step there. DIA is going to launch the surveys function, which is one of the first tools of electronic democracy. And for millions of citizens, this is going to be the possibility to voice your opinion and influence state policy. Quickly, it's a chance for us to quickly gauge public opinion in real time, in real figures. And for all of us, in fact, this is a start of digital democracy. And the first question is very simple, and it's not very consequential. Let's say this is a warm-up for the system. Today, we have the new services launching in DIA, and which one of those is the most useful for you? It's the absence of criminal record, surveys, or change of the place of registration. Pick your option and watch digital democracy evolve in DIA and influence the development of our state. And the second question is serious and positive and very responsible. And your reply is going to influence the consequences of a large state program which concerns our senior citizens. The advantages of the digital state have to be available equally for everyone. And this is why everybody who is 60 years old or older is going to receive a free fast smartphone. And we thought about how to name this program. It would be Babushka phone, which would be discriminatory to our granddads. So the third option was e-smartphone, which means each person could say, yes, smartphone, which means I have a smartphone in Ukrainian. Please pick an option which you believe is the best. And remember, this is all just the beginning. By the way, all of these surveys are already available in your smartphones. Like I said, we start with some very simple questions, baby steps in our program, but I hope that in the next DIA Summit, we will have a lot to tell you about, a lot to be proud of, and we will have a lot of achievements which we can amaze you with, and more ambitious plans, which will amaze you even more, and you and the world. But we are not afraid of that, because we know that yesterday it was a dream, today it becomes DIA and an action. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you very much.